This is the AI News Flash for August 15th, 9 p.m. UTC. First up, Nvidia is in talks to invest as much as $3 billion in SB Energy, the SoftBank Group unit developing the massive Ohio data center planned for OpenAI. The information broke the story and Reuters followed. The structure is unusually specific. Nvidia has discussed putting in half the money when the Ohio deal is signed, and the other half as part of SB Energy's planned initial public offering. SB Energy is aiming to go public as soon as next month, and could raise at least $5 billion in that listing. The equity stake is one piece of a much larger negotiation, in which Nvidia would provide around $100 billion of credit support for the Ohio campus. The Wall Street Journal reported earlier that Nvidia has scaled back its initial guarantee to less than $120 billion, down from the $250 billion previously discussed. Either way, a chipmaker is now stepping directly into financing its own customers. Both companies declined to comment. Second, Bloomberg reports that bond traders are agonizing over roughly $70 billion of what it calls shadow credit backstops tied to AI companies. These are phantom liabilities that do not appear on the balance sheets of the major AI players, but could materialize at exactly the wrong moment. For firms like Nvidia and Broadcom, lending out their strong credit ratings lets customers borrow more cheaply, while the debt itself never lands on the chipmaker's own books. The report describes this as something close to a free lunch, boosting sales without adding leverage. Rating agencies, however, are not ruling out that these backstops get drawn. In an industry downturn, chipmakers could be forced to honor billions in pledges precisely when their own earnings are already under pressure. The context is Nvidia's discussions to backstop as much as $250 billion so OpenAI can lease computing power in Ohio, and Jensen Huang's announcement that a coalition including BlackRock and Goldman Sachs is lining up more than $500 billion for the AI build-out. The financing of AI infrastructure now rests heavily on semiconductor credit. Third, Anthropic has published technical details on how it will watermark text generated by Claude. The company is using the synthed text approach that Google DeepMind developed in 2024. It embeds a pattern in low-stakes word choices during generation, so the mark is undetectable to a reader, but detectable to anyone holding the key that encodes it. Anthropic plans to release a detection API and says watermarking does not affect output quality. In its words, a watermarked response is indistinguishable from an unwatermarked one to a reader. Code is largely exempt in practice. Working software constrains word choice too tightly to leave much room for the pattern. The driver is compliance with the transparency code under the European Union's AI Act. The user reaction has been sharp. Reddit posts have called it a conspiracy against innocent Claude users, and Business Insider reports dozens of people on X saying they are canceling their subscriptions. Fourth, Bloomberg reports that AI-driven chipflation, the surge in memory prices caused by the AI build-out, has washed ashore in the United Kingdom economy. The Bank of England has held interest rates for a fifth consecutive meeting, while warning that energy prices and an AI-driven memory chip shortage will push inflation higher. UK inflation stood at 2.6% in June. The price moves are steep. JP Morgan estimates DRAM prices will have risen more than 400% from the start of 2024 to the end of 2026. Morgan Stanley puts the increase at roughly sixfold over the past year alone. The cause is allocation. Manufacturers are prioritizing higher margin data center chips over the memory that goes into phones, laptops, and everyday consumer devices. The macro impact has been quantified. JP Morgan economist Abiel Reinhardt estimates that every 10% increase in hardware costs lifts core consumer price and personal consumption inflation by about 0.1%. with the memory shock as a whole adding 0.2 to 0.4%. AI infrastructure spending is now showing up outside the data center in the prices ordinary households pay. That's all for this AI News Flash.